Meet Kenneth. Kenneth is the Operations Director of Best Warehousing and Transportation, the logistics services provider for Premium Online. Premium Online is the e-commerce branch of the premium supermarket chain that delivers groceries straight to your doorstep. Kenneth, the man responsible for warehouse operations, was feeling troubled after a meeting with the senior management. George, the managing director, had just revealed the company's plan to invest in marketing efforts to double its sales by at least twice the current level in the next 2 months. However, a recent shift to a new warehouse in Changi has resulted in several operational issues for Premium Online, primarily involving limited manpower and inefficient warehouse operations. To alleviate this, the senior management decided to invest in the Auto Robot, an automated small parts storage and retrieval system. The goal was to be able to operate on a much larger scale with efficient warehouse processes. Unfortunately, the high expectations of Auto Robot's performance was not met, and the initial excitement rapidly became stressful anxiety. While there were some improvements observed with regards to the picking process, the level of improvement was not significant enough. It was clear that the potential of the Auto Robot's picking capability was not fully utilized, and the warehouse was not ready to increase its operational level. Against this backdrop, Kenneth just found out in a meeting that the senior management have decided to still go ahead with the marketing plans and increase sales. Ultimately, it boils down to Kenneth and his team, Alice, Assistant Operations Director, and Sam, External Consultant, to identify the key issues that are preventing the warehouse from operating at optimal level and undermining the Auto Robot's effectiveness. They need to develop practical solutions and implement them as soon as possible. Feeling the immense pressure, Kenneth decided to call for a meeting with Alice and Sam to decide their next course of action. Let's now back up a little bit and look at the events that led up to the meeting today and understand the situation at the warehouse. The warehouse of Premium Online is divided into 3 main zones. First, the chilled zone for items that require cool temperature. Second, the frozen zone for frozen food. And third, the ambient zone for storing rest of the items. As most of the items are stored and picked in the ambient zone, the Auto Robot system is currently implemented only within the ambient zone. So what is this Auto Robot and how does it work? The Auto Robot comprises a large 3-dimensional grid structure with about 24,000 plastic bins where stock keeping units, also known as SKUs, are stored. Autonomous robots run above the grid structure to transport these bins from storage area to the picking and replenishment ports. By operating the robots with an optimization algorithm, the system is able to increase the picking efficiency while using less manual labor. Before the implementation of Auto Robot, a meeting was held to brief Sam on the warehouse processes thoroughly. Basically, when a customer places an order through the online store, a job sheet would be created according to when orders need to be delivered. Pickers will pick the required items from the various zones, and the items will be consolidated at the staging area ready to be delivered. Premium Online offers 3 delivery time slots: 10 AM to 2 PM, 2 to 6 PM, and 6 to 10 PM. Orders are to be picked and packed 2 delivery time slots in advance. With the implementation of Auto Robot, the team hopes to be able to reduce this to just 1 time slot in advance. Once Sam understood the processes well, the team met with the Auto Robot engineers to finalize the configurations for the system. Several decisions had to be made, and a key one was deciding which SKUs should be placed in the Auto Robot. There were few things that had to be considered. SKUs had to first fit the weight and size constraints of the Auto Robot bin, and fragile SKUs had to be avoided. SKUs then can either be placed individually or grouped together in the same bin. And if it's the latter, additional analysis would need to be done to decide the grouping. A threshold quantity of a particular SKU would also need to be determined before the SKU is deemed suitable for the Auto Robot. Being able to fit just a single quantity of a SKU may not be ideal, as the bin would need to be replenished each time the item is picked. Finally, the number of bins to allocate for each SKU has to be decided as well. Based on past experiences, Sam suggested that any SKU that satisfied the criterion of 6 and above units fitting into a bin would be placed into the system. They also decided that each bin will only contain 1 SKU and that they would dedicate 3 bins per SKU. This would eventually translate to about 18,000 bins being occupied. With the configurations in place, the autorobot was successfully implemented. Orders were now sent to the autorobot directly, and the system automatically retrieves the relevant bins and presents them to the picker. The picker picks the items and places them into tote boxes, which are labeled with barcodes, allowing the picker to scan and link them to a particular order. The boxes are placed on steel trolleys, which are pushed to the waiting area once the picking at the autorobot is completed. For orders that require items not stored in the autorobot, pickers would get the trolleys from the waiting area, push them through the manual zone, and pick the required items using radio frequency scanners. Once done, the trolleys are brought to the consolidation point where the same picker bags and labels the items he has picked. The bags are left in the staging area, ready for delivery. During the next regular operations team meeting, Kenneth was furious. It had been a few weeks since the autorobot was implemented, and he did not understand why it was not performing to his expectations. While the average picking cycle time had decreased, the improvement was suboptimal and did not justify the amount of effort and money spent on the system. After about a month of autorobot operation, significant improvements were expected, but unfortunately, this was not the case. With the goal of finding the root cause of this inefficiency, Kenneth and Sam decided to spend the rest of the week on the ground and observe all aspects of the picking process. An initial observation by Sam and Kenneth was that autorobot had actually helped to greatly reduce the picking time of SKUs. However, this improvement was undermined by several other factors. Pickers were found to be idle and waiting as items were running out in the autorobot too quickly, and the replenishment process was not fast enough. Long queues of trolleys were also found in the waiting area, as the picking rate in manual area was much slower compared to the autorobot's process. This mismatch in speed had resulted in a large bottleneck in the area between the autorobot and the manual area. Another pressing issue with the current system is its inability to differentiate bulk quantity orders from low quantity orders. Bulk quantity orders should be picked in cartons in the manual area rather than in singles from the autorobot, because doing the latter will only slow down the process and cause replenishment issues at the autorobot. In addition, Sam and Kenneth noticed several problems within the manual area. Pickers had to walk a great distance despite only having to pick a few items. Congestions within the manual area were also observed. In the consolidation area, Sam noticed that the same manual picker had to push the trolley to the consolidation area, scan and bag the items before being able to start on the next trolley. From these observations, Sam and Kenneth managed to identify the pressing issues faced in the warehouse. And that brings us back to today. Right after the study was completed, Kenneth was called into the meeting with the senior management that was mentioned in the start of this video. Once the meeting was over, Kenneth had called for Alice and Sam to decide their plans for the next few days. He knew that they had to brainstorm as much as possible during this meeting and find solutions to the problems he and Sam had identified in the past few days. As Alice and Sam entered the conference room for the meeting, they could sense the pressure in the air. Kenneth closed the door and exhaled deeply. He looked at Alice and Sam and said, "Let's do this."